Resentment is one of those things that festers underneath your relationship. It's like mold growing in your house where you don't see it until it's too late and it pops up in all kinds of nefarious ways. It's something that is growing in darkness because it's been pushed down and can be really, really damaging to your relationship. I see it all the time with couples who show up in my office for couples therapy. One partner is acting out in some type of way and neither partner really understands why that is. And often it's because something has been pushed down that needed to surface. It ends up surfacing in these harmful ways in the relationship. So in today's video, I'm going to talk through resentment, what it is, how it shows up in your relationship, and how you can begin to heal it if you detect it in yourself or in your partner. If you're new here, my name is Wes. I am a couples therapist based in Chicago, and this channel is devoted to helping you improve your relationships over time. So let's get right into it. So resentment at its core is not just about your partner's behavior. I think that's something that a lot of people get wrong. They think that, well, my partner is doing all these things, so of course I'm resentful of them. And to some degree, that might be true. But really what resentment is, it's about what happens when your voice is missing in the relationship. And there's a few key ways that this can happen. The first is that you're not speaking up enough in the relationship. When you feel like you are not able to speak up, or maybe you are conflict avoidant in your relationship, you end up pushing those small things down. And it might feel small at the time. You might say, well, this isn't actually that big of an issue. I don't need to bring this up right now. I don't need to create conflict just because I was bothered by this one little thing. And so because of that, you push those needs down and you don't speak up about them in the moment, or you don't speak up about something that bothered you with your partner, that your partner did that was annoying to you or aggravating or hurt you. And so because of that, you push it down. Over time, those small things build up. But everything that they do is filtered through that negative lens, which then creates a negative cycle in your relationship where you start to see everything they do in a negative way. Second way this can show up is if you don't voice your need in the relationship. Now, this can be really difficult for people because I think a lot of us don't even really understand what our needs are, especially if you fall into a habit of people pleasing in your relationship, or you very early on were taught that in order to make others happy, you have to neglect your needs. Then you might not even really understand what your needs are. And so you might not be speaking up about them, but there's some part of you deep down that does know, that understands that something different in the relationship, but you are too afraid or you don't understand what they are. And so you don't speak up about them. You push them down, and then that bubbles to the surface over time. The third thing that can happen is that you are afraid to speak up. And that's because you don't feel safe to speak up in your relationship. Now, this can happen for all kinds of different reasons. It can happen because of childhood experiences that taught you that it's not safe to create conflict in your relationship, to speak up about the things that you need to, and you're not going to get your needs met if you do speak up. So you feel unsafe in that way, and you begin to, again, push things down in order to keep yourself safe. Your partner may also be contributing to this here, where your partner is actively creating a situation that feels hostile. And when you do speak up about something, they say, go handle it on your own, or dismiss it, or they don't even pay attention to you. They're neglectful in some way. So that can also make you feel unsafe to speak up in the moment. And four, you might not be setting clear boundaries in your relationship. If you're not setting clear boundaries, then what can happen is you allow your partner to take up more space in the relationship or do things that you're not happy with, take actions that don't align with your values. And because you haven't set firm boundaries, again, expressing what you need, expressing what you will do as a consequence if your partner continues the same behavior that they've been doing, then that can create a situation where you feel uncomfortable, but are not voicing that discomfort. And so again, you're pushing it down, and again, it will bubble up to the surface. Keep in mind that every time you silence yourself in your relationship in one of those four ways, you are creating another layer of resentment that over time builds and builds and builds until eventually, like I've been saying, it'll pop up to the surface. So now let's talk about how resentment does show up in a relationship. And this will help you hopefully begin to identify it if it's showing up for you or for your partner. So let's talk about a few of the ways that I've seen resentment pop up in some of those common signs. The first is closed off body language or detachment in a relationship. If you see your partner withdrawing, if you see them hunching their shoulders when they talk to you, pulling away, getting silent, giving you the silent treatment, that could be a sign that they are upset about something deep down and they don't feel like they're able to voice it to you. And so they are pulling away as a response to that. Remember, a lot of these are responses that are protective in the way that they operate. They are protecting the person from feeling discomfort or feeling upset in that moment. So instead of voicing their complaints to you, they are pulling away in order to protect themselves, in order to keep themselves safe. Two is globalizing language. So this is always or never language. Like you see dishes in the sink, you say, "Oh, you're such a slob. God, you're always so unclean." This kind of language is what the Gottmans call criticism, which is one of the four horsemen of the relationship apocalypse. And it can be really damaging to a relationship because the more you say that, the more your partner starts to feel like they can't do anything right and like you don't like them, right? And criticism can build over time and lead to contempt in relationships where your partner feels like you have a sense of disgust towards them or you don't like them. And that can be the most damaging thing research has shown to the longevity of a relationship. Three is defensiveness. Defensiveness can be a result of shame, but it can also be a result of resentment building in a relationship over time and get bubbling to the surface. Your partner offers you criticism or feedback, and instead of taking that and taking accountability, it triggers that wound of resentment that's deep down in you. And so instead you jump back in with excuses or counterattacks and push back on your partner in a really hurtful way. Resentment or anger, especially things that are blown out of proportion, can be a really dangerous sign of resentment underneath. The next way this can show up is as passive aggressiveness or sarcasm. These are ways that you, again, are slipping into an angry response instead of acknowledging the actual hurt that you're feeling underneath. It's an attack rather than a withdrawal way of protecting yourself. This goes hand in hand with refusing to give your partner credit. If your partner is really trying hard here to do good things in a relationship, I see this a lot with parents where one parent is really trying to step up and do things that their partner's asked of them, but you can't give your partner credit because there's been so much resentment built up around things that they haven't done well in the past or things that have hurt you in the past that you haven't expressed adequately to them. And finally, the ways that I see this show up are by withholding affection. Again, that kind of pulling back response. And that can be a punishment that this person deems acceptable for the resentment that's been festering underneath, or hopelessness. A lot of the time, if you've been holding on to resentment for a really long time, you might begin to feel hopeless. This is never going to get better. My partner is never going to change. I just don't see any way out of this. And that hopelessness turns into despair. It turns into pulling away. It turns into feeling deeply sad and sometimes depressed in your relationship. The good thing to keep in mind here is that these are all signals, not that your relationship is totally broken, unfixable, or that the love between you two is gone. These are just signals that resentment is covering up. You think of it like a bunch of dirt that's been shoveled on top of the love in your relationship. And the more you can begin to uncover that dirt, move it to the side, get rid of it, the more that love can begin to shine through again. So let's talk about the intentional work that you need to do in order to resolve resentment in your long-term relationship. So what I always like to think about here first is check for safety. Is it safe in your relationship to share your resentments openly? This may not always be the case. And if it's not, first, if you're in an abusive relationship, get out. You do whatever you can to get the support that you need. But if it just doesn't feel safe in your relationship to bring up resentment, but you feel safe personally, and maybe you don't feel safe because your partner gets dismissive when you bring stuff up, or they get really angry when you bring stuff up, or they say, usually you can just go handle that on your own, then it might be really helpful here to bring in a third party. Start with a couples therapist, somebody who is able to help you navigate those conversations with your partner, and encourage your partner to seek therapy as well, because a lot of this is going to be personal work that something you're bringing up is triggering to them. And so they're responding from this hurt place. And that kind of lack of safety is not going to be conducive to having the productive conversations you need in order to be able to express resentments on both sides. Number two is I always recommend that you start with self-work in your relationship. Before you bring up anything to your partner, start by taking a quick look at yourself. Okay. Try to ask yourself, what am I feeling resentful about? Are there needs that I haven't voiced in this relationship that I need to bring up to my partner? And ask yourself too, am I afraid of rejection or conflict if I bring this up? What am I afraid of if I voice this to my partner? By taking a look at those hard questions, and you can do journaling here, you can do meditation, often just sitting with a recent conflict that's happened between you and your partner and saying, why did I react that way? Where was that coming from? And seeing what comes up in you, whether it's feeling of anger or shame, sadness, if you can track those emotions back, you will be able to identify what those might be linked to. What are the first thoughts that pop in your head? Well, God, I'm really angry, not just about this, but I just feel like they don't treat me well. Then you say, why didn't they treat me well? And you can work your way backwards to specific things that they may have done that are causing this resentment to build up, or specific things that you haven't been voicing that your partner needs to hear that you feel like they're not meeting you around. The last thing I'll say here around the self work is begin to work on regulating your nervous system. What this looks like in practice is before you go into a conversation with your partner, take deep breaths, put your hand on your chest, focus on calming your body down to the best of your ability so that you can go into conversations with your partner in an intentional, grounded way. This will help make everything past that point way more productive. And it will also help train you and your body to react less strongly over time to the things that you are perceiving from your partner as really hurtful. Okay, next, you want to bring this up with your partner. Okay, long term, you need to get this resentment out and express to your partner the things that you've been pushing down. So first, set yourself up for success. Don't bring up resentments in the heat of conflict. I see this all the time. You guys are in a fight, and then all of a sudden you bring up something from 3 weeks ago that has been bothering you the whole time. And that only escalates the conflict, makes your partner feel worse, and doesn't really set you up for success long term. So don't bring it up in the heat of conflict. Instead, choose a safe moment with your partner, a calm moment, and try to set the stage. You can say something like, there's something really important that I'd love to share with you. Is now a good time for you? Okay. And they may feel a little bit worried at the time, but you can say, this is really important to me, and I really want to be able to talk to you about the important things in our relationship. Again, couples therapy can really help with this because you have a dedicated space in which to have those conversations. Finally, when you do talk to your partner about this, try to follow a format that includes observation, feeling, need, request. The way that this could work is, say you have a resentment about your partner coming home from work and immediately getting on their phone and not paying attention to you. So you feel deprioritized and you feel like they don't care about you as much as you want them. So you could follow the framework like this. You'd say, hey, when you come home from work and you immediately get on your phone, that's the observation. I feel really dismissed. I feel like you don't care about me, and I've been working all day and I really wanted to see you. And so when you come home and you immediately jump into work, it feels like you don't really think the same way. It feels like you are thinking about me all day. So I feel really sad and disconnected in that moment. That's the feeling part. Now you can express it. You'd say, I really need to know that you care about me and are excited to come home and see me. Then you can offer a request. Hey, when you come home from now on, would you mind if we just spend like 10 minutes connecting? That's all I need. Come in, give me a hug, act like you're excited to see me. We can even chat about our day a little bit. If you need to work more after that, I understand. I know you have a busy job. You can go do that afterwards, but I really want that mode of connection when you first come home. Would that be okay? Remember to try to keep your tone calm, open body language, and focus on helping your partner connect with you in that moment and see how much this matters to you. By focusing on the emotional impact that their actions have on you, it helps you get across the bigger impact that it's been having and the why behind why you need a change. The final step here is just follow through. Usually these conversations are not one and done, but you need to keep bringing things up in the moment if you can, around expressing your needs or around things that are bothering you with your partner. And you also need to check in and say, if your partner comes home and starts getting on their phone more after work, it falls off your request, you can bring that conversation back up and say, hey, I know I talked to you about this. This is really important to me. And here's why. And by completing that follow through over time, that helps your partner begin to meet your needs more often. Again, focus on the emotional expression piece first. So look, Resentment is a signal in your relationship. It doesn't mean that the love is lost, doesn't mean that there's no hope. Far from it. It just means that you are not doing a great job of voicing your needs, of being open and honest in the relationship. And maybe that's because there isn't emotional safety on the other end. And if that's the case, then please go get help from a therapist or from a coach, from someone who can offer you a safe space in which to have those conversations and to help jump in to coach your partner where needed. But in the end, keep in mind that resentment is a workable issue, but it does take practice, time, and commitment. So do that self work. Understand when things are bubbling up in your relationship that might be coming from resentment in either you or your partner, and address these things head on. It'll help you long term have a safer and more fulfilling and rich relationship with your partner. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far, please like this video and subscribe to my channel and send this to somebody who might find it useful. Thank you.